Okay, this is Sam Stanton of the Sacramento Bee. I'm here at the Golden One Center on 7th Street. And as you can see, there are hundreds of people gathered for a peaceful protest, not only over the George Floyd killing, but about police killings in general. They are trying their best to social distance people. They are having them line up all the way back to the arena itself and asking them to stand pretty far apart. They're providing masks for anyone who chooses, and people are streaming in from all over downtown. I got down here at 8 this morning. This event is supposed to begin at 10. There were already several dozen people here. There are more over in Cesar Chavez Plaza. There are dozens and dozens of cases of water being prepared for folks. There is very little semblance of the kind of police state we were looking at in Sacramento in the past few days. I've seen very few officers. The Golden One Center previously had been blocked off and guarded by armored Humvees from the National Guard and deputies. There's no sign of them here now. There are no guardsmen positioned at the courthouse or the district attorney's office as there has been earlier this week. There are no guardsmen at City Hall. There are no police at City Hall. The only evidence of the guard I've seen so far today is there were 3 armored Humvees positioned on 10th Street outside the west side of the Capitol. There were 3 additional members of the guard, 2 men and a woman with M16s, standing in front of the Stanley Mosque Library, which is across 10th Street from the west side of the Capitol. That library, of course, was hit with heavy graffiti last Saturday during the demonstrations that roiled out of hand and ended up with looting Saturday night and then again Sunday night. But most of that graffiti has been removed by volunteers who have come down, including Devante Clark, Stephon Clark's brother, and Governor Gavin Newsom. Devante posted Instagram video of he and the governor scrubbing the walls of that building. All you can see in the building right now are some slight imprints of some of the graffiti. Most of downtown is still closed, and the stores are boarded up, but they've come down here. I'll show you. They've come down here and they've stenciled throughout the downtown area on the plywood itself. Don't destroy, demonstrate. And so the city's been peaceful since the Sunday night looting, which just ripped down K Street here. People were going into any available building, just smashing windows throughout the Midtown area. There's none of that today. There hasn't been for days. And the protesters have insisted that it had nothing to do with their efforts, that the looting was just criminals taking advantage of the fact that the police were preoccupied with the demonstrations. There's no indication that the police have anything planned like they had earlier in the week, where they were using tear gas and rubber bullets and trying to break up some of the demonstrations near the Capitol. You can see the police have got 7th Street blocked off up here at J. Obviously, they're going to let this march progress peacefully. They're expecting the mayor and police chief Hahn to arrive here at some point, and they have organized this. They're expecting former Kings players, Matt Barnes and Bobby Jackson, as well as various other folks to speak, Betty Williams of the NAACP. But right now, they're just trying to get this organized, and it's really remarkable how they've gotten folks to agree to line up way back there. They're all lined up. They're trying to social distance. It's not working out, but they've got masks for them. I'm going to see if I can give you an idea of how many people are back there without getting stuck in there. They're handing out T-shirts to anyone who wants them, Unite T-shirts, Vote T-shirts, that sort of thing. There's a motorcycle gang here called Hit 'em Hard that is providing security. I'm walking through the outer patio of Sauce restaurant, which is not open right now. The only business that had its door open earlier was the Fizz Champagne Bar, and that's because the owner was getting ice and water ready to give to whoever needs it. He's not opening his business, but he's offering help to anyone who needs it. So I'm walking past the Chipotle. You can see the size of this crowd. It's easily 1,000 people. And they're still coming in. They're just streaming in from all over. Very diverse crowd. Everybody's got a sign like that, or like that, or like that. Thank you. And you can see their social distancing. It's actually working. What they're asking folks to do, they've got a certain amount of distance between groups. Here's the owner of Fizz. You're live on Sac Bee.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Today we're passing out water, we're passing out masks, we're passing out snacks, just in solidarity that we are with Black Lives Matter. We are here today in solidarity against police brutality, and that we have to take a stand, and enough's enough.
You think you're going to have enough water?
We're trying. We have a lot more.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Good
Thanks,
day.
guys.
Thank you. That's the owner of Fizz. You can see they've got snacks. They've got just about everything, including masks for anybody who needs one. And this crowd, look at this. It goes all the way back to the other side of the plaza. And the plaza is completely open. There's no police presence. They had this shut down the other day with the National Guard and the Sac City Police, but there's no sign of that now. There's a real feeling among people I've talked to here this morning that Sacramento has turned a corner, that the violence and the looting that took place Saturday and Sunday night was an anomaly. A lot of the people I've spoken with tell me they were among the first on Sunday morning to come down here, and then again on Monday morning, and voluntarily just start cleaning up the broken glass. Look at this. All the way back to Doco. And some of the people I've spoken to here tell me they have a real hope.
Oh,
I'm sorry about that. A real hope that these demonstrations and the ones nationwide are actually going to have an impact, actually going to change something in the way policing is done in this country. Here you can see the Coons sculpture Piglet that was defaced in the earlier demonstrations. It's all been cleaned up. Much of the graffiti downtown is gone. Volunteers have come down here and scrubbed it. We're well over 1,000 people now. The people are just literally streaming into the plaza. You can see the Black Lives Matter sign on the building across the street, reminiscent of the Black Lives Matter street near the White House that was painted yesterday in Washington, D.C. So this is L Street. The entire block down this way is filled with people waiting to cross the street. I'm going to go around so I don't have to fight my way through that crowd again. But this will give you an idea of how many people are still coming in here.
Woo! Oh, it's up.
Downtown Sacramento hasn't seen a gathering like this probably since the Devante Clark marches of a couple years ago. Here you can see them all coming in to line up, and there's a remarkable amount of social distancing going on once they get up there. The organizers have been reminding people constantly about the need for that and providing masks. Regional transit is running down here, so a lot of these people are coming in on those trains, it looks like, and getting off, because I can't imagine where this many people would be able to park in downtown today. People of all ages. Here you can see a stroller. I can't breathe is a very common theme here for obvious reasons. You can see there's all races, extremely diverse crowd, people from all over Sacramento and Northern California. Look at this. They just keep coming. This Hit 'em Hard motorcycle gang that has volunteered to provide security. I talked to the president of it earlier, right after they arrived on their Harleys and other bikes, and asked him if he thought they were going to be needed, and he obviously doesn't. This is a very peaceful crowd, but it is going to be a very large crowd. Let's see if I can get across the street without getting run over by this bus. The businesses all around Midtown and downtown that are boarded up have put messages of support on the plywood covering their businesses. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, things of that nature. And the graffiti, see, it's mostly gone. People have just come down here on their own and scrubbed it off the walls. There's no semblance of broken glass anywhere anymore. That all got swept up by the volunteers. These guys up here in the green shirts are providing volunteer security. The NAACP has been handing out some of these, helping. And they've not only filled the Golden One Center Plaza They're filling the park across the street, St. Rose, I guess it is, where the ice skating rink is during the winter. There's RT. This crowd goes almost all the way back to J Street at this point, and there are still many, many more people coming.
Everyone get yourself together. I want to make sure everyone looks to their left, look to your left and your right. The person next to you is someone that you have to respect. The person next to you is a human. We are here for unity. We're here for peace. We're here to march.
So I'm going to try and get out in front of this crowd because otherwise I'm going to get swallowed by it. There's at least 2,000 people out here. at least. See, there's a drone overhead. Some serious crowd control efforts going on here. There's no angry shouting. There's nothing like that. It's just people out on a beautiful Saturday morning in downtown Sacramento. And they're all getting along.
Sidewalk in. Everybody sidewalk in.
Look at this. More. Look at this. 100 people still streaming in up 7th Street, being directed into the crowd.
Everybody on the sidewalk.
Well, social distancing can go just so far in a crowd this size, obviously.
Everybody on the sidewalk, out of the street, please. I'm coming in front of the Doco sign right now.
Devante Clark. His voice is hoarse. He's been leading these marches all week long, shouting, demonstrating, urging people to remain calm, not to loot, saying none of those people have anything to do with him or this group. This Devante.
Yes, come in the middle of the street now. Fist up. Fist up. Fist up.
Fist up, he's saying.
Fist up. Fist up. Fist up, everybody. Put your fist in the fucking air now. Everybody. Everybody. What do we want? I can't hear you. What do we want? I can't hear you. What do we want? When do we want it? I can't hear you. When do we want it? When do we want it? Let's act like it.
Of course, that's the brother of Stephon Clark, who was shot and killed 2 years ago by Sacramento police officers. And since the Stephon Clark killing, Devante has emerged as a leader of all of these demonstrations. There was a year worth of marches in downtown Sacramento over the Clark killing, and now Devante has emerged as one of the leaders of the efforts here, not just for the George Floyd killing, but just for police brutality cases overall. These undercover officers, not too undercover because, of course, you can see their badges behind their jackets. So Devante was working with the governor earlier, cleaning up graffiti. He was walking with Mayor Steinberg earlier this week. Of course, there was a die-in about 3 blocks from Mayor Steinberg's house last night. It looks like Matt Barnes back there, right in the middle, former Kings player who was a presence at some of the Devante Clark demonstrations. Look at this. This is people waiting to join the march after it passes by. There's hundreds.
Join the march, get in behind the front. Anybody can join, it's for everybody.
Hear this gentleman directing them how to join the march safely.
As soon as the front of the line passes, feel free to join the march.
Join the march as soon as the front of the line passes.
Of course, L Street's closed off now.
Looks like we have it just about right here. Everybody can join the march as soon as the front of the line passes.
Like they're trying to get a bullhorn up front here for somebody.
Yo, let's go. Let's go. All right, let's go. Hey, hold up, hold up. Hold up.
The crowd is chanting the names of people who've been killed. There's Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Kings, at the very front of the march. You can see him right there with the Sacramento Kings mask on. There's Vlade Divac of the Kings back there trying to make his way up to Vivek. course, during the Devante Clark protests, the Kings contributed. There's Matt Barnes hugging Vivek. The Kings contributed quite a bit of money to help some of the communities in South Sacramento, despite the fact that the marchers had shut down a couple of Kings games. Vivek gave an impassioned speech after one of those from the floor of the arena. We're passing the Capitol, which has been the site of numerous protests this week, and currently has 3 armored National Guard Humvees parked in front of it. But there's no sign of the intense security that the CHP had out there earlier. Looks like we're marching to the Capitol, so we'll get a better look at it and how the CHP plans to respond to this march. So we're heading up Capitol Avenue directly toward the west side of the Capitol.
Can I get you guys to give us a little more space, please? Can I get you guys to give them just a little more space?
These marches are very closely orchestrated. They regulate the speed of the march. They tell them when to stop. They lead them. They tell them which direction they're going to go. And despite their best efforts at social distancing, that's obviously not going to happen. So you can see Vladi there. His head is right up there next to the No Justice, No Peace sign. And that's Matt Barnes marching right in front of him. And these guys are the Hit 'em Hard motorcycle gang, who's providing security for the march. This is the direction the march took. You probably can't see this, but they have burned Black Lives Matter into the lawn on Capitol Avenue leading up to the Capitol. Gonna need a drone to show you that. There's still people streaming in, coming from the direction of the Capitol. And up here to the right, you can see the Stanley Mosque Library that was hit with an incredible amount of graffiti on Sunday or Saturday. I'm losing track of which day these things happened. And it's all gone now for the most part. Volunteers came out and scrubbed it down, including Devante Clark and Governor Newsom. They were out here together scrubbing that building.
That side, please, everybody back. Hey, everybody go back. Everybody back.
Okay, we're turning around to 9th Street and heading south. The Stanley Mosque Library over here earlier today had 3 National Guardsmen standing in front of the building with M16s, and there were 3 armored Humvees sitting in front of the west side of the Capitol. There were also some guardsmen positioned on the south side of the Capitol, but the National Guard presence here has been very minimal today, unlike yesterday. I was downtown yesterday afternoon, and there were armored vehicles rolling all over town, and you could see convoys of more of them coming in from where the Guard is stationed at Cal Expo. There's about 500 guardsmen here. I asked some of them earlier where they were from, and all they would say is Northern California, not Sacramento. So I don't know that that's a state secret, but they didn't want to say. Even more people waiting to join the march. And we're heading up N Street, east, back toward the Capitol. The Capitol has been the scene of very angry protests in the last week, including a couple of standoffs in the street with California Highway Patrol officers holding batons to keep the crowd at bay. And last Sunday night at 10th and L Streets, right on the corner of the Capitol, Sac PD used tear gas, rubber bullets, flashbangs to break up a crowd of about 1,000 people, it looked like. But while they were focusing on that effort, there were looters all over K Street and elsewhere throughout Midtown, because they knew the police were tied up dealing with the protesters. There's no effort like that by police right now. In fact, the motorcycle cops are clearing the street for them. No one's very tense. The CHP has brought its horse-mounted units out, though. I don't know if you can see them off in the distance.
Black Lives Matter!
This is the southwest side of the Capitol. Looks like they've got the regular contingent of 5 mounted units. And you can see that the Capitol is still fenced off. It's been closed for about 2 months, not because of these protests originally, but because of protests against Governor Newsom's stay-at-home order, which had thousands of people out here, very few of whom were wearing masks. This crowd's doing a much better job of mask wearing than the stay-at-home folks were. Of course, they were telling all of us that COVID is a hoax or has been overstated. But as a result of their protests, this fencing went up because the CHP declared there would be no protests on the Capitol grounds. There's still very minimal CHP presence on the grounds. You can see the horses, but typically when a protest comes by of this magnitude, the CHP is lined shoulder to shoulder, ringing the Capitol. They're not doing that today because they've figured out this group has no intention of trying to jump these fences. You can see they're barely even paying attention. This officer's just kind of wandering around. They're not wearing helmets. They're not wearing masks like they normally do. And there's bottled water positioned all along the parade route here for people who may need it. You can see the mosque library over there. All the graffiti is gone. Look at how that crowd is still all the way down Capitol Mall. That's the end of the parade. It's got to be at least 3,000 people now. So the parade route goes all the way down. The end of the parade is still down there at 7th Street and Capitol. And they're slowly making their way all the way up to 9th Street and then over to N Street and then back over to 10th Street where we are now. I can't remember ever seeing a march that long, that many people here in Sacramento. And there are still more coming. People coming all the way down L Street. More and more and more. So this is 10th and L. This was the scene of the dispersal order by police on Sunday night, where they ended up using multiple rounds of tear gas and rubber bullets against the protesters. Doesn't look like anything like that is going to happen today. Ton of people coming down L Street to join this. We're heading up 10th Street in the direction of Cesar Chavez Plaza. I don't know how, if that's their destination, I don't know how they're going to fit all these people in there. That park is not that big. But that's where a number of signs have been set up in honor of George Floyd, Devante Clark, Breonna Taylor, and others who've been killed by police. It's a massive almost altar to victims of police brutality that's been there since earlier this week. Volunteers there. That car's got a sign that says free water. People are making sure everybody's taken care of with this. And again, this is the motorcycle gang, the Hit 'em Hard motorcycle gang that has volunteered to provide security for everybody in this march. Okay, they're approaching the K Street Mall now, the site of a lot of the looting that took place Sunday night. You can see most of the storefronts are completely boarded up. Sharif Jewelers isn't because they've already been looted. But the others have things like this stenciled on them. Every day is your chance to make this city a little better. Or don't destroy, demonstrate is painted on a lot of the plywood around here.
This is the Golden One Doco Plaza. This is Jason Schultz. Thousands of folks still in this part of the march. George Floyd chant continues.
Everybody right here.
I just need to be able to shoot them at the podium.
Yeah, they are. I'm sorry, they changed it. Yeah. But we still need to open up.
Either on one side of the line or the other.
Meet me. Where you
Outside.
video? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're here at Cesar Chavez Plaza, where they're getting ready for a series of speakers. And you can see it's basically a shrine to victims of police brutality. It's been growing all week long.
Here's the key. If I'm louder than you, we got a problem. I said, say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Where'd they go? Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Say his name. George Floyd. Say her name. Breonna Taylor. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
So this group has completely filled the park, completely. There's thousands of people here. It was one of the longest parades I've ever seen in Sacramento, stretched for blocks and blocks. And now they're getting ready for a series of speakers. The whole thing has been extremely peaceful. Everyone's been very friendly, calm.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
once again, we're here at Cesar Chavez Plaza in downtown Sacramento, and protest marches just like this one are going on all across the country right now, in virtually every major city and a lot of small cities, because George Floyd's killing obviously has triggered something nationally. Here's Devante.
Hold on. Y'all know why we here, right? I say y'all know why we here, right? We're here because George Floyd should be alive today. We're here because Devante Clark should be alive today. What do we want? I need everybody. If you are here, I need you to act like you want some justice for George Floyd. Breonna Taylor's birthday was yesterday. I need y'all to act like you want it, all right? What do we want? Justice! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want it? Now! And if we don't get it, shut it down! I said if we don't get it, shut it down! You can't stop the revolution! 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 No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! And until we get some justice, they don't get no.
We're letting a series of black balloons go up into the sky.
All right, I want you to repeat after me.
I imagine those represent people who have been killed by the police.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They got me on the front line and I can't leave. That's it. So we're going to go. Y'all ready? Yeah. I want to hear the choir. The choir ready? Yeah. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They got me on the front line and I can't leave. They got me on the front line and I can't leave. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They got me on the front line and I can't leave. They got me on the front line and I can't leave. But when I say hands up, don't shoot, you
Look
say
at the diversity of this crowd in terms of race and age.
line,
It's just an absolute reflection of Sacramento itself.
You can't leave at this moment. You have to stay in a radical change. You have to stay today to revolt this system. So are you ready? Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. Hands up, don't shoot.
That flag says Black Trans Lives Matter.
Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. Hands up, don't shoot. They got me on the front line. You can't stop the revolution. 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 Get that fist up. You can't stop the revolution. 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 Okay, thank you, people of color, my sisters and brothers. I'm going to turn it over to the program.
And thank you so much for being here. We are about to get started on our program. That's what we came here for. And we're going to get started with an opening prayer by Pastor Alice Banks. Pastor Banks.
Pastor Alice Banks is going to give a prayer to start this off.
Bible said that God blew into us a breath of life, and man became a living soul. Amen. As I ask God to look down on us, as we share the pain, the hurt, and the concern about the condition of our city, our county, our state, and even our nation, I stand in solidarity with those who have had enough. As one who knows what it feels like to lose someone so dear, 73 years ago, my father was taken from 9 children to wife, yes, by law enforcement. I didn't have anyone to stand with me, but I'm standing today for those who have lost someone. Not only was he shot, he was dragged to the back door and laid at the back doorstep. I thank God today for those who are concerned. Oh God, I know you see, help us to change things. To see what we have been going through all down through the years. But I wonder why. I wonder how long. What makes people do evil things? What is the underlying cause? I pray you, God, you will speak to the minds of those who hate and replace it with love. Dr. Martin Luther King said that don't hate. That's too much burden that you would have to bear. I have learned to love all people, and I am happy to be with you today as we stand together, combining our forces to stand in peace and love. We come today to repeat the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Hallelujah.
Come on now.
Come on. You got it, sister.
He said that it would be,
It's all right. It's all right.
There are still thousands of people marching, still trying to get to this park. There are so many people in this group.
if they returned to their business as usual. We have come today to repeat those words. It will be a rude awakening tomorrow if America do what they usually do in this nation, in this country, and in this city. We have deep sympathy for those who are hurting right now because pain lasts for a long time. And I pray that the families can look beyond today for a brighter day. We can't change what happened, but we have to change what we are going to do about it. We have changed what we're going to do about it. We stand today to change what we can do about it. We have hope. We have faith. In spite of the situation, we still have faith. Hope will make us smile tomorrow, even though today has a bitter pill, because we have hope. I pray that God has heard my plea and He brings justice to this city, to this state, and to this nation. But I want to tell you, glory is ours. When glory comes, it will be ours. Yes!
Now they're going to bring a children's choir to do some singing. There are still people streaming into the backside of the park. We've been here 10 or 15 minutes, and the parade is still trying to assemble here.
All right, thank you so much, Pastor Banks, for those wonderful words of support on this very trying time. Now,
see Vivek Ranadive is up there on the stage with Devante.
Hello, everybody. Anybody come to stand up today? Make some noise. Yeah, we have an outside performing crowd. We're going to let you know we're going to stand up. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Everybody, let's go. Stand up. Let's go. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Put your hands together. Come on. Keep up. Stand up. Come on, if you want to change the world. Everybody, come on, stand up. We can walk hand in hand. That's our God's plan. Everybody stand up. That way, let's go. Let's go. Stand up. Turn up some DJ. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Let's go. If you want to change the world, come on. Anybody want to make some change? Everybody, stand up. Let me hear it. Stand up. You know, we can walk hand in hand. Come on. God's plan. Everybody. Everybody, come on. Let's go. Stand up. Look, we can stand firm on God's word. With our voices, we can make a change. On God's word, with our voices, we can change. Let's go. On God's word, with our voices, we can make a change. Let's go. With our voices. Do this. Do this. That way, let's go. Stand up. Hey. Hey. If you want to make a change, everybody. Hey, let's go. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Stand up. Let's go. Come on. Here we go. If you want to make a change, do me a favor. Everybody, jump with us. Jump, jump. Let's go. 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 Let's go. Let's go. How many places we got? Stand up. Let's go. Stand up. Let's go. Stand up. Let's go. Let's go. Stand up. Let's go. Let's go. Stand up. Let's go. Stand up. Let's go. Let's go. Stand up. Stand up. Everybody, come on. Clap your hands, everybody. Stand up. Stand up. Black lives matter. Make some noise. Stand up. Go. Hand in hand. All right. Stand up. Let's go. Let's go. Martin Luther King said, let's put a line. Stand up. You never say call. Stand up. Hey, make some noise for him, everybody. Come on. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. If you come to stand up, make some noise.
You can see people gathered on the rooftop of the parking garage across the street. That's going to be quite a photo. Give us an idea of the size of this crowd from that perspective up there.
Test 1 2, test 1 2. Go. Go. Yo, 1 2 1 2. Yo, can you guys hear me okay? Listen, this is an emergency for one moment. We're done. Okay. We have a missing child. Okay. First of all, we're going to deal with this system, how we can deal with it. Let me first of all tell everybody thank you so much for today. My name is Devante Taylor. I'm a local from Sacramento. I'm a filmmaker. And 7 days ago, I sent a text message to start this.
Devante Taylor organized this march.
And this is Velma Sykes. It's her birthday today. So everybody please say happy birthday. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Velma! Yeah. So, baby, can you come here? Y'all stop. Y'all know you're not here for that. Here. Lieutenant Governor is here. Who else is here? Bobby Brown is here.
So somewhere up there, in addition to Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Kings, Mayor Daryl Steinberg is up there somewhere. Police Chief Daryl Hahn is up there. Former Kings player Matt Barnes is right over there.
The perfect storm.
Vlade Divac is over
Let me
there.
explain to you guys what that means. It was the first time in life that the entire world was shut down due to COVID. There was no NBA, no NFL, no movie theaters, no amusement parks, no Chuck E. Cheese, no bowling, no restaurants, absolutely nothing. And because of that perfect storm, we all, 12 days ago, seen a video on our phone. And there was nowhere to go, nowhere to hide from what you see. Because of that video, young kids, young adults, old kids, old adults, black, white, Latino, Asian, Arabic, Jewish, gay, straight, transgender, transsexual, millennials, Generation X, baby boomers, it didn't matter. You got your ass up and went to the streets and made sure the world heard. We don't want this to happen anymore. I'm calling out the perfect storm. Now here's the reality. We are laser focused. The water is calm. You can see the destination. You can see the destination. You can see where you need to swim. You can see land. But in a moment, the water's going to get choppy again. The NBA is going to come back. The NFL is going to come back. Disneyland is going to open. The restaurant is going to open. The bowling alley is going to open. Can you still see your destination? That's the question. So I'm challenging everyone right now, today. This is not about black or white anymore. This is about humanity. This is about everyone is a human. This is about everyone needs respect. What is your intention? Is your intention pure? Because when you're in war or you're on the basketball court, everybody's on the team. You understand that? It doesn't matter what color you are. Everybody's on the basketball team. Everybody's in war. We all have the same uniform on. So I need every one of you kids that are out here that I'm looking at. You guys are the next generation. You guys have sparked this. You have sparked this. Never stop. Never surrender. And never give up. We have the ability to change the world right now. You know, to do Betty and Bobby and everybody we're going to have to say, I love everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think invested in so many marches.
Sorry, they got so choppy there, folks. Trying to plug in a battery and the device is not cooperating with me.
I said, this is a mental war. This is a mental war. So my young kids out there, it's not about strength no more. We've done that. We've been fighting for 40 to 50 years. Now we got to use this. And we got to use the person next to us, our brothers and our sisters, no matter what color you are. Everybody stand up. We did it. Black Lives Matter.
All right. No justice? Peace. No justice? No peace. No justice? No peace. That's what I'm talking about. I'm Betty Williams, the president of the Sacramento NAACP. Okay, can you hear me now? All right. Just like Dion was saying 7 days ago, we witnessed a public lynching. A public lynching, by definition, is a person that you kill with no due process and you are the sole executioner. We watched this young man die before us. The whole world witnessed this. And I wish you could stand where I'm standing now as I'm talking, because we still have people coming from the Golden One Center. I want to thank you, Sacramento. 9 minutes of breath. I thought we need to do 9 counts of justice for every breath that he lost when that knee was in his neck. What people don't understand, why are they protesting? We're saying people aren't hearing us. They don't understand that the neck that was in his knee, the knee that was in his neck, has been in our neck for years. We've been dealing with the neck of justice, struggling with the breath of life. Together, Sacramento, and collectively, we said we wanted better charges for the man that killed George Floyd. And it happened. But we asked you to call Minnesota in the Congress, so thank you for that. We said we wanted all 4 law enforcement actually jailed, and we together made sure that that happened. Here, that's right. That's right. We're asking for laws here in Sacramento to be changed. We're saying no chokehold in Sacramento. We need to make sure that that happens. We're saying, the NAACP is saying, if you have an officer that continues to do excessive force, they need to be taken off the street. And they need to go through disciplinary action and training and do not put them back on the streets. Sacramento, we passed 392. Time for us to come together and create a congressional 392 for the whole United States to stop officers from killing. And I'm about to tell you right now how you can personally commit murder and get away with it. Y'all ready? Because I know the chief of police is here, so I want him to hear this, how you can get ready to commit murder and get away with it. You ready? All right, here we go. Vote. I need you to vote. If you want to change the laws, you need to vote. If you want to change the scenery that keeps happening in life, you need to vote. If you want to make sure we have a change in this state and around the world, you need to vote. We can't do this without your vote. We need everyone, black, white, and everything in between, young. We need you to vote. It's time for a change. And another thing I need you to do, that creates murder in the system. That creates the dying that we have within our system. If you want to change the landscape, help us go to the city hall and the county board of supervisors. Right now, our sheriffs do not. Right now, our sheriff's department do not have body cams. They're saying that the county board of supervisors won't pay for body cams. So collectively, you see that we as the NAACP, along with Black Lives Matter and everyone else, we want to make sure that every officer starting here in Sacramento has body cams so we can get and prove correct together for that. I have so much joy in my heart right now because we're speaking in one voice. I never thought this could come together. And once we made that phone call, we realized we were speaking the same voice and had the same vision. And the fact that I'm looking at this crowd and it's full of diversity. So back in the 60s, it was just African Americans. But now, look at you. Give yourself a hand for coming together and speaking in one voice for justice. As I conclude, I am going to bring our own coach, Bobby Jackson of Sacramento Kings. Bobby Jackson.
This is former Sacramento Kings player Bobby Jackson.
Step down. You guys showing up, and you showing off today. Proud. I've been in Sacramento for 20 years. I got here in 2000. I got 5 kids that I love to death and I go to war for. And the injustice that's been happening for us as a community, as a proud father. That's why I'm here. I'm here to support, I'm here to educate, but as a community, as a nation, we have to continue to support each other. We gotta educate each other. But we gotta educate each other, support each other, and this is what it's about. It's about unity.
It's about unity,
It's
he
about
says.
unity. It's about unity. Being able to stick together, come together as a country, come together as brothers, sisters, regardless of race, creed, color, understanding the overall objective. Keep hope alive. We're here for one reason. For justice. We're here for justice. We're here for peace. We're here for Black Lives Matter. We're here for a lot of shit. And the more we stick together as a country, as a unit, as a race, we're going to be all right. But we got to continue to educate ourselves. Even myself, I was ignorant. To vote. 30,000 people out here. If you want to make a change, that's what you got to do. You got to go vote. You got to go vote. We have a voice. We have a voice. Use that voice. Don't be silent. Use it. Come together. Bullshit. Yo, so, let's do this one time. Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Y'all gotta get louder. Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Love you, man. So, I bring up Devante. Well, two people really quick.
Sorry, had to rebalance that.
King Batch, come up here. I brought my brother King Batch down here. Most recently, he has done a poem on Instagram that has received over 40 million views about injustice and being Black in America. And I'm going to encourage everyone, if you can, to please go watch this man's poem. We appreciate you, man. One more time, my brother, Willie D. About 25 years ago, this brother, we flew in from Houston. His name is Willie D. He's with a group called the Ghetto Boys. And these brothers created change when people didn't know what change was. And later tonight, we gonna talk, man. We gonna get up here and say some words, but Willie D. So, you gotta come in person. We call him D. That's the fact.
Here's Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Kings.
You guys back up a little bit. 7 years ago, I'm gonna let you guys know this. This was one of the first team owners and billionaires to step out and say Black Lives Matter. We have an owner of the Sacramento Kings who understands diversity, who understands partnership, who understands what it means to come from nothing. And when you have that, that's priceless. Today, this man marched with us. Floyd marched with us. Matt Barnes marched with us. Paige Stoyakovich marched with us. John Christie marched with us. The Donovans marched with us. Everybody from different worlds. Everybody from different countries. We are all here together.
Do your thing.
That's Devante with his message. He wants the DA recalled because she wouldn't file charges against the officers who shot his brother Stefan.
Let's just know that you are here for change, brother. So, back on me, everybody.
Be on, Bobby. Look at what you created. You created a sea of love. This is a sea of love. Thank you for doing this. I just wanted to start by asking everybody to join me in 9 seconds of silence to recognize and honor.
9 seconds of silence. 9 seconds of silence. 9 seconds of silence.
Yeah, I want all of you to join me in 1 second of silence to honor George Floyd and the countless others who've been murdered. And I'm going to choose to kneel for those 9 seconds, and you want me to do that, okay? 9 seconds, thank you.
That was like 6-11.
This is Jason Schultz coming up basically at the rear of the march. Final folks still coming into Cesar Chavez Plaza here at the corner of J and 10th. And I've never seen a rally this big in Sacramento for sure. Thousands and thousands of folks keep streaming in. Definitely a family atmosphere. Children here on strollers, wagons. Lots of signs, Black Lives Matter. Being vocally anti-racist. Still more folks coming up the street to the park.
Brown, Asian, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, young, old, and we have just one message: Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Now, many of you have been saying it for the last few years, but this message has not been heard. So you know what? We're going to scream this message. We're going to scream it from the arena. We're going to scream it from the park. We're going to scream it from the mountaintops, from the college campuses, from down squares. And we're going to scream it as loudly and as many times as we need to so people get it. Black Lives Matter. For 400 nights plus now, our brothers and sisters have had to endure injustice that no one has had to. Slavery, murder, prejudice, discrimination, all kinds of injustice. Mahatma Gandhi once said that a slight to one person is a slight to the universe. So an injustice to one person is an injustice to all of us, to every one of us. One of my heroes, Martin Luther King, said that life's most urgent and pressing problem. Question is, what are we doing for others? We're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. So we need to work harder, we need to stand taller, we need to vote. And just as we did after the Devante Clark tragedy, I'm here to tell you that we at the Kings will work even harder than we've worked before. What I love about basketball is that we just have one question. And the only question we have is, we don't care what your color is, we don't care what your ethnicity is, we don't care what your sexual orientation is. We just ask, we are game. And if you're not game, you're on the team. And what I see here is a team. So let me give one more cheer. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. And I want to scream so loudly that the whole world hears it. Black Lives Matter, okay? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
So, a couple more people, you guys just stay with us. Just want to remind us. This is what we do it for. This is my son right here, man. This is what we do it for. This is what we do it for. So, I want to, we got Gary Owens here. I want to bring two brothers up. Harrison Barnes, can you come up? And Matt Barnes, can you come up?
Former Kings player Matt Barnes.
Both of these dudes, if it was 10 years ago, I would dunk on them. They want to say a couple of words real quick. And then we're going to bring the Lieutenant Governor up.
Is Mr. Hall here? Where's he at?
Right there.
Come here, brother. Come here real fast. As we're talking about, is this working?
Police Chief Daniel Hahn.
I just tell you, thank you for what you're doing in the community. And thank you for coming as a black man today. I really appreciate you, man. And it starts with you. And it starts with what you do. Inside the walls that we can't see it. And we appreciate your diversity and we appreciate you fighting for us, brother. So, Daddy, I'm gonna let the book. Maybe you bring up the governor.
Can't see. Can't see. Can you go back a little bit?
First and foremost, I just want to thank Devante Taylor and his team for putting together this beautiful event. Honors alive,
Excuse me.
George Floyd, Devante Taylor, Mark Harper, and all the victims of police violence and gun violence. Our job as protesters is important for our democracy. It allows us to bring awareness, but also put pressure on the elected officials to implement new laws, new policies, and hear our concerns. But if all we do is show up here to protest and don't follow through with voting, we're not going to see the change that we want to see. We all care about the community. That's why we're here today. But now we care about who represents us. The people who run our police department, decide who gets charged with a crime, and judge our sentences are all elected officials. Do you know who our mayor is? Our police chief, district attorney, state elected officials. If you took the time to come here and work, you need to take the time to go home and figure out every single person who represents you and decide if they're part of the problem or part of the solution. Yeah! And come November, in every future election, we have to vote. Vote and bring everybody else who's come to you over the last week and say, what can I do? How can I help? That they vote too. That's our power. We have no excuse not to show up at the voting booth like we showed up here today. Thank you.
Okay, this is Matt Barnes.
Sacramento, what's going on? This is a beautiful thing to see everybody out here like this. I'm proud to call Sacramento. I see so many faces I know and so many people I don't know, but the one thing that's common is we're together for the first time in a long time. Do you know that 1% of officers who kill civilians are charged?
Wow. Wow.
And even less than 1% convicted.
Wow.
Less than 1% are convicted.
Wow.
So the only way, for the first time in 400 years, they hear us. Unfortunately, it had to do with some rioting and some looting, but fuck it. They had to listen to our silent protest. We've got our fists in the air, we've taken knees, we've done everything we possibly could, and they don't fuck about us. They hear us finally. So like Dino said last time, we showed them the violence. We gotta take it. But now, we gotta beat them with our minds. This is a mental fight. So when we say, go out and vote, it's not just to get that president out of the White House.
It's not just to get that president out of the White House, he said.
When we say go out and vote, it's not just to get that orange dude out the office. We definitely have to get him out. And like Harrison said, it's the local level and the state level where laws are made and passed. The city councilmen, the mayors, the crooked ass DA, we gotta get her up out of here. But we gotta vote. We gotta know who we're voting for. And the only way to do that is to educate ourselves. Educate your brother, educate your sister, your friends, your family. I've had a lot of white people say, how can I help? Listen, educate yourself, and then stand behind us. So I love you, Sacramento. We're finally together, and let's give Trump a better office.
Make a quick announcement. We do have water on the left as well as a medical tent. So there's water all around us, but we have cases and cases of water, and we have a medical tent to my left. So if you need water or you need medical attention, we do have that available. So I want to make sure that everyone knew that. Hello? Okay. I want to start with saying, what's his name? Okay. I got one. Let's try it again. What's his name? Floyd. What's her name? What's her name? What's her name? So with that, I have the pleasure of introducing to you our Lieutenant Governor. Her name is the Lieutenant Elena, and I'm going to put your last name, so I'm not going to try. So we're going to say Lieutenant Governor Elena is coming to you from the capital that we vote in. Let's give her a hand, Lieutenant Governor Elena. Thank you. Let's start by thanking the NAACP and Black Lives Matter for bringing us all here today. Like many of you, I came here today to take a knee. I came here today to show my respect. I came here today to show solidarity with my Black brothers and sisters. And I came here today to honor the life of George Floyd, who was mercilessly killed by a police officer. Now, I asked myself, if I come here as an ally, like so many of you who are not Black and have not lived the Black experience, what is my job as an ally? And I have a couple thoughts. First of all, someone said vote. Yeah, vote. First of all, we have to educate ourselves. If we are going to join this struggle, we need to know our history. We don't show up today and go home. Commit ourselves to educating ourselves and understanding the struggle that we are joining. That's right. Second, we cannot, as much as we may feel pain, we cannot look for comfort from our Black community. We are here to comfort them. We are here to tell them. We may never understand what it's like for you, but we are here to listen and to stand with you. And third, we are here not just as allies. Ben O'Keefe wrote a blog. He's an advisor to Senator Elizabeth Warren. He wrote a blog to help white and people of all color who want to be allies in this movement to give us advice. And he said, don't just show up as an ally. This movement needs more than allies. Ally is sentimental. The movement needs co-conspirators. Many in this group are already co-conspirators. The rest of us need to stand up. We need to stand shoulder to shoulder with the African American leaders in this state, starting with Shirley Weber. And we need to work together to bring the change we know we need. For George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor, and everyone else who was mercilessly killed by law enforcement. One more. one more thought. So last week when it was all still very raw, somebody in an interview asked me if I had words of hope. And my mind went blank. All I could think was the voice of George Floyd calling for his mother. But yesterday, I heard a poem, not a published poem, it's a little poem that was written by a fourth grader some years ago, and I want to share it with you. It's called Be the Wind Chime. Be the wind chime. Let the wind blow through you, turn storm into song. This is a storm, my friends. We are in a storm, and we are going to turn this storm into the sweet song of justice and freedom and righteousness and change.
All right, my name is Deshaun Gray, chairperson for the Sacramento NAACP Youth and College Division. Give it up for our youth. So before I pass the mic, I just want to say that I want to thank all the people who volunteer and do this work full time. A lot of us have the pleasure of showing up when events happen or in our spare time, but there are people on the ground every day out here doing work. So give it up for our activists, our volunteers, everyone that's making a difference daily when we have the luxury of being at home. So right now we have Alana Smith, who is a Sacramento native. She's 17 years old. She's Howard bound. She's Howard speaker. You can find her on her social media. This is my daughter. Right now for you, Alana.
Thank you.
It's called Rest in Power.
Rest in power among our burials. Rest in power beyond Taylor. Rest in power George Floyd. Say their names. Shout their names. Scream their names. Each name murdered in disdain. Murdered in broad daylight. Murdered in vain. They pleaded with pain, but their sobs of sorrow flowed into ashes on the ears of devils. Being black in America should not await trouble, should not resemble sin, should not provoke death. Yet our melanin is perceived as a threat to society. Blatant brutality bashed on black men like batons. Time and time again, they are immune to the whiteness despite their wickedness. White was never pure, only of impurity. Reality reveals these badges of white supremacy. American diplomacy always served them, never us. In God we trust, only one God we trust. But no trust in justice. When the opposite turns a black man to the ground, let a white man walk free. Let a white man walk free. And the takers who steal from our identity, creativity, are now silent, quietly taking the side of the oppressor, the pressure to protect property over life, underlies systematic racism in American time. They committed crime and they're good people. We protested crime that you love. White aren't protesters protected by white privilege. Harmless black activists brutalized by the blue lives. The devil is alive. But the people speak the truth. Say my name. Say his name, Ahmaud Arbery. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. Say his name, George Floyd. How many more names are going to cause us pain?
You're her mom? How do you spell Alana?
A-L-A-N-A.
Smith, S-M-I-T-H? Take a bow, Mom.
Let's give it up for the musical selection change for Lele. Lele.
She's 17, right? She's 17, right? Thank you.
I said, how's everybody doing today? I'm glad you guys are happy to take out the shoes. To our people of the world today, fighting to fight against our enemies. Yes, the sound of the heart, we all know. It is coming out, time to go.
Come on.
Give it up one more time for Ed. In one moment, we're going to hear from the Clark family. We have one more performance from a phenomenal youth. Give it up for Roman Ward.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Braxton Warren. I'm here speaking on behalf of my father, Councilman Alan Warren, and my little brother. And I prepared some remarks to share with everybody today, and then I'm going to read a poem by my brother. My heart. My heart is so very full at this moment. I'm looking out at all of you. People different backgrounds, origins, and ethnicities all coming together as one to love and support each other. At the same time, while feeling these immense feelings of love and support, I am carrying feelings of profound shame, sadness, and anger. I am ashamed that in the United States of America, where we just recently sent individuals into space, where we have self-driving cars and interactive artificial intelligence and our everyday technology devices, we must still fight for the basic human rights of Black and brown people. That's right! I am sickened that a man can be murdered in cold blood in broad daylight by individuals that have vowed to protect and serve our community. I am disgusted that it takes national uproar in order for action to be taken against them. I am sad that instead of empathy and compassion, so many of those around us remain silent. I'm repulsed by those who attempt to justify the evil actions of racist individuals causing so much damage and hurt. It saddens me that in the year 2020, we must continue to fight a war that is 400 years old in a country that we built, where our culture is the base and foundation of everything considered to be American. Talk to him. It is sickening that people must still put their lives on the line in order to receive equal treatment and human rights. I am very angry that my parents and grandparents have experienced things so truly vile and inhumane in their fight for justice, so that we might not have to endure the same injustices, and yet here we are now, fighting alongside them. I'm telling you now, right now, in the year 2020, we will put an end to this. That's right. And we will start now with this generation. Hard conversations must be had with friends and family. We must educate ourselves and others about the past so that we do not repeat it in the future. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. A famous quote that is truer now than it has ever been. Through education and love, we must come together in order to eradicate this evil on which our country was founded, an evil that has plagued us for almost half a millennium. We must rise up and fight together so our children can grow up and ask us questions about this time instead of having to experience these gross injustices for themselves. We must shame racism and racists. We must shame. We must expose and shame those unwilling to enlighten themselves, those who have no regard for equality because it does not touch their lives personally. We must come together and not only stand up but fight for what is right together as one people. Everyone, from every culture, from every background. ¿Dónde está la gente latina? ¿Dónde está la gente latina? Sube la mano para arriba, para arriba. Todos debemos estar indignados por este ataque directo a la humanidad. Un ataque contra los morenos es un ataque contra todos nosotros, sin importar el origen, sin importar raza, porque todos somos iguales, todos somos seres humanos. We should all be outraged at this attack on humanity. An attack on Black people is an attack on all of us. No matter the origin, no matter the race, because we are all one, we are all human beings. Finally, I am proud of each and every one of you listening to this call for justice. I am proud of you for showing up and being counted. I am proud of all of us that we march towards justice. We do so as a unified people with a common goal. Together we rise. Being Black by Roman Warren. Being Black is a gift, yet our gift has caused a rift. A societal and psychological crack between those who hate and those blessed to be Black. We are beautiful. God has gifted us skin kissed by the sun. We are strong, but police constantly remind us that we cannot run a gun. First creation, inexplicable hate. Racism is the birth defect of our nation. They wish death in our fate. Hate disguised as righteous pity. Hate disguised as legal propriety. But God's word in the Bible never allowed this. This hate is manifested of a broken society. Jealousy, envy, hatred, all gracious. We've suffered long before and long after the 13th Amendment. They don't care about what they don't see, so that what they don't experience must not be. Colorblindness is not an abnormal. is not a mindset. Why did Rosa sit on the bus? So many of us, so many still haven't figured it out yet. If you don't see our blackness, then you don't see us. They trivialize, they minimize, they criticize, they deny, they profile, they kill. Why? We just want to be safe to end racism in our country. We are not asking for favors, we are simply asking for equality. We were stolen from Africa. We are not here for pilgrimage. We are called self-destructive, and everyone was once denied they have privileges. Centuries of slavery and lack of education. We have to fight for the right to read. A cycle of bias and incarceration. A flower can't bloom from a starving seed. Too many raised by single mothers. Too many killed for wearing the wrong colors. We have been exceptional to be accepted. We have to be exceptional to be accepted. We have to be perfect to be respected. We are enduring incredible evil, and we're still standing. We are no longer asking, we are demanding.
Okay, this is the Devante Clark family that's set to speak next.
We gotta bring our own. I want everybody, make sure we give these people a round of applause for real. I know we've been on this already. But it's gonna be over. It's like church. It's gonna be over. It's like church. Those black people are ready to church. We get ready to introduce the Clark family. Devante, Peter, everybody's here. Grandma, Mama. Listen here, baby. Listen here. We got Caleb. Hey, come up here, baby. So baby said, listen, this family represents all of us. This is why we're here. This is why I want to tell you that you've done an amazing job. You have done an amazing job, man. Give this man a round of applause, man. It is hard. It is hard to lose someone and have to go all over the country to fight for injustice. It is hard to lose your brother, lose your grandson, and every camera in the world is pointing at you, and you still don't get justice. So I want everybody to give your devoted attention to the Clark family for one moment as they say a few words. And we're gonna get through this. We got a couple more people. We got really things. We got these governor here. And the city member will be back, okay? But everybody, one moment.
Hello, everyone. Sacramento, make some noise! I am proud of Sacramento today. I want to make two important points. Number one, we changed the law. AB 392, commonly referred to as the Devante Clark Law. We want that nationally. And the second thing I want to point out, the officers who killed George Floyd were fired day one. They were fired. That's never happened. Secondly, they were charged with murder. Money does not buy that. Money does not buy that. That's that George Floyd matter. And that's what we're standing in the gap for from Devante Clark. We will not quit. We will not quit. The fight will not die until building the police state. We will not stop
you to do one thing for me, two things for me. I'm going to go. I'm going to say Stephon Clark's name. I'm going to say his name. And to remind the world that 8 police bullets in my son's body from the back of the sign and killed him. We will say his name 8 times. Then we're going to say George Floyd's name. And to remind the world that it took 9 minutes for him to die, we will say his name 9 times. And then we're going to go. So, here go my baby boy right here. Oh, I'm so proud.
We love Billy. See your turn.
Are y'all ready? 8 times for Stephon, 9 times for George Floyd. And everybody quiet. Remember, passion with no direction is chaos. Y'all hear me? Stephon Clark.
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 Stephon Clark. Y'all ready for George Floyd? George Floyd.
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 Everybody quiet. Everybody get a comfortable, get on that knee, because that knee that was on his neck. I need everybody on that knee. The same knee that was on his neck. All the elders and kids that can't get on knees, don't get on them. If you got on your nice $900 jeans, you don't want to mess them up, don't get them. I ain't gonna force you. Let me tell y'all something now. The fight for accountability continues. Crooked ass Carol Baskins and Marie Schubert is still in office. I said crooked ass Carol Baskins and Marie Schubert is still in office. The chief, we love the chief. Yeah, we love him. Okay, whatever. But he needs to fire those killer cops. I said he needs to fire those killer cops. I can love you and hold you accountable and still love you. You hear me? I don't care if he's elected. Look, we've been failed for far too long. The elected officials failed. The church failed. Community leaders failed. Nonprofits failed. Everyone had a part to play in this failure. Do you guys understand me? So what's up to that? Now I'm not with the talking and all that vote. You vote if you want to vote. That's your right as an American. But I'm gonna tell you this: if you want to get with some change, if you want to do a resource center, if you want to help start a de-escalation tactical team, if you want to help start community gardens and farming and get involved with equity and get involved in changing generations for better tomorrow, I want to tell you, contact me, find me on IamStackFoundation@gmail. Okay? You contact me on Instagram, official Devante Clark. You find me. You find me. What do we want? What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want it? Now! And if we don't get it, shut it down! I said if we don't get it, shut it down! You can't stop the revolution! 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 Black lives! Black lives! Everybody up. Can I have the mayor get some mic?
It's Mayor Daryl Steinberg.
You got the mayor. You got Willie B. One more person. Y'all want me to tell them to lift the curfew? Today at 1 o'clock, we're lifting the curfew. Alan Warren, Jim Harris, Steve Hansen, Jason Eric Detta, Rick Jennings, and Larry Carr. Thank you for joining our city manager, Howard Chan, our police chief, Daniel Hahn. My heart today is soaring, but my heart is also hurting. I look out at this unbelievable crowd, and I say, I love our beautiful and imperfect city. Thank you to the NAACP and Black Lives Matter. I hope that everybody out there today shows up double and triple in November to oust Donald Trump from the White House. I want to take just a moment to reflect on this moment on behalf of our city. Change is hard. All kinds of folks will say, go slow. Others will say, you don't really understand. Others will say, leave it alone. It will just die down. Let's get through this. This is uncomfortable. Because it should be uncomfortable. Change may be hard, but it's nothing compared to Black people having to endure again and again what happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. It has happened and continues to happen far too many times. Change may be hard, but it is nothing compared to living with knowing that the people we represent believe that systemic racism will never change because we don't get it or we don't even try. It may be hard to change, I know it starts with me. But it is not nearly as hard as it will be if we don't all dig deeper and respect and respond with action to your plea and demand for change. Acknowledging my privilege as a white man is hard, but not nearly as hard as people living with no privilege and no opportunity. Young people, it is your world. You aren't waiting, you aren't asking, you are demanding, and you are right. I know that words help, but only action heals. I know it doesn't matter what we have done. It only matters what we do. I know no action, no justice, no peace. I know respect existence or expect resistance. I know our duty is so fundamental and so simple that we can boil it down to just 3 words, and we must. 3 words that need repeating because we have not yet shown fully we understand it as a society. 3 words that say dig deeper in ourselves, show our communities that we care, see and affirm one another's life and existence. gaze upon them. 3 words that are at the core are not offensive, simply affirmative. They are not a threat, they are simply a plea, and they are not a negation of others, but an affirmation of self. Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
With that, I am going to introduce one of our assembly that started at the city council, and now he's an assemblyman, our very own.
Good afternoon, Sacramento. You know what? We've had enough. I've had enough. You've had enough. But I need your help. Again, I am Assemblymember Kevin McCarty, represent the heart of Sacramento here in West Sacramento. A proud member of the Legislative Black Caucus. But you know what? I can't do it alone. I need you. Once again, we're here to stand up, to speak out, and to be heard. But we're tired of doing this. We were here last year with 392, and I was proud to be the author with Shirley Weber on that. And thank you, Clark family, for getting across the finish line. But you know what? If you're always talking about what you did yesterday, you haven't done much today. You know what? This time's different. I look around the crowd, see the faces, see our beautiful black faces like my family, to see the brown faces, the white faces. This time, we are not going to have it. We're going to make this time count. No more tinkering around the edges. No more empty promises. Systematic change. Police accountability when officers cross the line. That's right. Too many names. Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice. Right here in our hometown. Didn't think it would happen in our beautiful Sacramento, but we know it has. Michael McIntyre. Yes! Joseph Mann. Yes! Stephon Clark. Yes! They all died, shot by police officers. They shouldn't have been. There was not accountability. And now we see George Floyd. You know what's different? America, we see it with our own 2 eyes. When I was a young man like this guy, we saw a crazy video of Rodney King, so they had a camera in the back of their car. But now we see it with our own 2 eyes. No more, we've had enough. What do all of these young men have in common? Young black men. We can't deny it. We can't deny it. As the governor laid out the other day, let's address the institutional racism once and for all. For Black California, for Brown California. And as our governor said, reminded us, it's not the job of Black California, it's our job. 40 million Californians. Let's step it up. You have a role. I need your help. Let's pressure my colleagues in the legislature. Here's our to-do list. Here's our to-do list. Police reform, we need more. 392, not enough. We need to bring accountability to sheriff's departments like our own right here in Sacramento. I have a bill on the Senate floor. We're bringing accountability to make sure our police sheriff oversight commission has teeth. I'm 1 vote away from passage. I need your help. How about independent investigations on officer-involved shootings? Common sense. Do you think it's fair when police themselves? No, what are the results? We see it all the time. Minnesota's doing it right now. 5 states are doing it. Why can't Gavin Newsom and our AG make it happen here in California? I have a plan on that. I've tried twice before. I need your help to make it happen this year. How about we certify police officers across the line? If you're a bad doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, you lose your license. You're a bad police officer and quick before you get fired. You know what I mean? You go talk to women. And you're pregnant. That is crazy. That's dangerous. Put their lives on the line. Accountability. Can't bounce from one department to another. But there's more than that. There's more issues. We're tackling about this is our time. This is our window. The second up in that little white building, not enough courage. I'm saying like it is, not enough courage. I need your help. How about voting rights for the formerly incarcerated? How about that? That's my my bill, ACA 6, up for a vote next week in the Senate. I'm one vote short. A member yesterday who was a no called me and says, I'm watching this happen with George Floyd. I'm a yes. I'm at 26 with one more vote. You know, these bullets of Jim Crow laws must go. You know what? This is where you can help because it goes on the ballot in November. You can step up and have a voice. How about more criminal justice and prison reform? We're going to shut down 2 prisons against those budgets.
Thank you.
How about parole and probation reform? Reward success, not just filling those scarlet letters holding people back from getting a job. I see the sign right here, end economic oppression. You know, 26 years ago, before some of you were born, California banned affirmative action called Prop 209. You know what? We got a plan. We're going to put up the ballot this November so you can speak up. How about ethnic studies for every high school and college student? Wouldn't it make a difference if every kid in California, every high school student, every college student knew about those chicks, those slave chicks arriving at Jamestown 401 years ago? To the freedom riders of Mississippi 40 years ago. To George Floyd 12 days ago. The bottom line is this. These bills are hard. You know what? We're tired. We need courage over that white building. I need your help. People aren't always ready to step up and bring about change for these institutional issues. We need your help. You know, I have 5 minutes here. I have my 4 right now. I'm just going to last minute and introduce some of the life gates that you guys need to know here in Sacramento. I served on the city council for 10 years. They tried to take it around the edges. They need some more help. They need some more courage for progressive policies. So I want to bring up your council member-elect for this district right here in the city, Central City, Katie Valenzuela, who campaigned on these issues. She's going to make sure she helps get Mayor Steinberg push these policies here at the council. She needs your help to push her agenda forward. Katie?
Hello, Sacramento! There will be change in November, but change is not waiting till November. It starts today in Sacramento. Because before there was George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Tony McDade, if we say his name, because Black Lives Matter too. Before any of those tragic and completely preventable deaths, we had stuff on court and Joseph Van right here in Sacramento. We are demanding action here locally too. Do you know that the city of Sacramento this year is going to increase the police budget by $10 million? $157 million. What are we going to do about that? Who's going to call city council on Tuesday and say we want that money for our communities? Raise your hand right now. Every single person in this audience to call council. Who's going to talk about the fact that the Police Oversight Commission recommendations have been sitting on the shelf for months? For months since 392 passed. They recommended stronger use of force standards, and our council still hasn't acted on them. What do we want them to do? Act now!
Before we do,
we can purify ourselves. People like me and Kevin, we're just one vote. We know that we're just one vote. But when I look out on this crowd today, and every single one of you post every single week, every single day, and we have this much engagement for months, we will finally see a change. We will finally stop here in Sacramento. Let's do that today. No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! Let's show up, Sacramento. Let's keep showing up. Thank you.
Really quick, we have 10 minutes here. I need everybody to stay here because we want to end in prayer and we want to release a couple thousand balloons for each and every person that we lost. Okay? Just hold on 1 second, okay? Before we go, really deep, can you come up here and say a couple words for us, man? Everybody, be.
Peace, King! Peace, King!
What's up, family?
Peace, King!
I said, what's up, family? First of all, I want to salute to George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Devante Clark, all of the people that have been victims of police brutality unnecessarily. This is a sad time in American history, but this is history. Everybody here right now, we're making history right now with your actions. And it's important that you know that. Devante Taylor contacted me and said, "Hey man, put together a march," and I said, "I'll be there." He didn't do the rest of it.
Right.
I said, "I'll be there." And then he finally told me exactly what he was doing. And I said, "Hell yeah." Hadn't been to Sacramento in about 20 years. And I remember the last time I was here, I had a good time. I said, I got to come.
Yes, sir.
So, I want to let you guys in on something. Me and Dion, we've been working with a plan to go around city to city, and we're going to be doing a round table with community organizers, community leaders, including activists, entertainers, public officials, and corporate executives, the people who actually have all the influence in the city who make it run. I want to also salute the mayor. The mayor is here, right? Okay, yeah, I want to salute the mayor who's still here, yeah. I want to salute Mayor Steinberg. I want to salute also the chief of police, Chief Hans. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. None of us are perfect, but the fact that they're here and they're standing in solidarity with us, it means a lot. You understand what I'm saying? There are certain people, like the Tangerine Tornado in the White House, who would not have come to something like this, something for the people. This is for the people. When the people are suffering, when the people are in unrest and there's violence, as a leader, you don't push the narrative of division and violence. You try to temper it down. You try to temper it down by giving people encouragement and hope. And you try to calm the violence. You don't try to ramp it up like this clown-ass thing is doing in the White House. So, to the Tangerine Tornado with the Mandarin thief, Donald Trump, I like to tell you, sucker, this is what leadership looks like. When you say, the community activists that's out here today, the community organizers, I see you, I love you, I respect what you do, because it's not easy fighting for justice. I don't know why it's so hard, but it's not easy fighting for justice. It takes a toll on your body. It stresses you out. It also affects your relationships. So I know exactly what you guys are going through. Some of you on this stage, I respect y'all. Some of you are in the audience, I respect y'all. Some of you guys are listening to me, I respect y'all. It takes a lot. What do we want? We want justice in the form of accountability. Imagine this, family. Starting with an independent review board with the power to subpoena. We don't need the police telling us what we can have and what we can't have in terms of evidence. That should be an automatic right to get to the city. We need an independent review board to oversee that. Somebody from the people from the community. People who have not been compromised in the serving community, those are the people we need to serve on that board. Right. Family, imagine this is why I say accountability is the most important part. Because if there was accountability, none of us would be here today. Right. Because we'd be saying, oh, yeah, I got it. Oh, Chief got it. No problem. Right. Oh, by the way, the killers of Stephon Clark needs to be brought to justice. Yes, sir. Imagine this, family. Imagine this. You have a job. You go to your job when you feel like it and work when you feel like it. You go in, you check in, you hit the clock. And then you decide if you want to work or not. If you don't feel like working, you don't work. But if you feel like working, you get to abuse the customers. You get to talk bad to the customers, insult the customers. You can put the customer in a chokehold if you want to. You can shoot if you want to. And still get paid and keep your job.
Where else can you get employment like that but on the police, at the police department? All across America is like that. All across America. It's not just in Minneapolis, Houston, Sacramento, LA, New York. It's a culture. Right. And it needs to be banished. Right. I want to make this clear, family. I am not against police. I'm against police brutality. We are not against police. We are against police brutality. All my non-black allies that's out here today. All my non-black allies that's out here today. We appreciate y'all. It's sad that the only time in this country, in most cases, the only time that we come together collectively is for a sporting event, a music concert, or when there's a crisis. That's a goddamn shame. That is not how society was supposed to move forward. This society is moving backwards. We're supposed to move forward as a society. That's the right way to go. That makes sense to me. How is it that we're using the dance and technology, but socially we're corrupt? Socially we're bankrupt. So we gotta move forward as a society. To me, it's embarrassing that I had to tell my son and daughter that I had to come here for a protest, for a march, to fight for justice. That's embarrassing. Because my mom and my dad and their generation didn't get the job done. Are we going to get the job done? Do you want to be back here 20 years from now? 20 years from now, have our children out here in this hot-ass sun, begging, pleading, demanding justice. Always forward. To my non-black friends, especially my allies who are white, let me say this. Don't worry about speaking out and being perfect with your words. Because I'm black and I ain't always perfect with my words. What's important is that you speak out. And when you speak out, the way to speak out, because I know you're going to be under a lot of scrutiny. I know some of y'all got friends, I've been reading the comments on social media. Some of y'all got friends that be going in on y'all speak up for justice for black folks. So, this is how you speak on it. You speak in an affirmative tone with the people who are being marginalized. It's as simple as that. You don't say, well, violence begets violence. Well, if they hadn't done this, or they hadn't, you don't do that. If you have a neighbor or somebody that gets killed or there's a tragedy in a family, you don't go to the family and say, well, what was he doing? Did he kill? No, you give affirmative support. You support the movement, you support the collective voice. You don't go around, you don't listen to people like, you don't listen to coconut ladies like Candace Owens. She don't have the answer. She don't know she is not for us. She is a mole, she is a paid agent for white supremacy, aka sellout. You don't listen to Charles Barkley. They are sellouts. You listen to the collective voice of the people. That's what you listen to. Again, I am not against police. I got family members, and I got good friends who are police officers. I am against police brutality. One more time. I just want to make sure everybody knows, because as this begins to end, please remember what we're here for. We don't need no BS today. The same way you walk here, the same way you walk out. All right? Let's remember that.
That's right. We are still working for our young people. This is my granddaughter Nessa. Say, hey, Nessa. All right. We want to make sure we have no more chokeholds, so we have an assembly member
in the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the victorious words and action of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. Silence is a form of betrayal. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here and refusing to be silent on the things of God. My name is Floyd Gibson. I'm a member of the California State Legislature. I'm a member of the Legislative Black Caucus. But I represent my birthplace. I represent Watts, Compton, Carson, Wilmington, North Long Beach, and Linwood, in Southern California. And so after we saw what happened to Brother George, we said no more. And so I have the bill. It's called the Chronic Restraint Bill. That is the situation where the police officer put his knee on Brother George's neck. We will ban that practice in the entire state of California. Not only will we ban that action, but we can also ban chokeholds in the state of California because it's not right, it's inhumane, and it's not taking place no more in the state of California. So as a black man, I simply say, I need your help. I need you to call your member of State Assembly, your member of State Senate, and tell them to pass Assembly Bill 1196. God bless you, and Black Lives Matter.
I am going to bring up Rabbi Nancy, and then immediately after that, I'm going to have Pastor Kiko Porter come and speak. He's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's also one of our own. If you saw Reverend Al Sharpton speak at the memorial, our own brother Kiko Porter was there as well. His brother was playing the piano, and his sister-in-law opened it up. And so our own Sacramento helped with the opening up of the memorial of George Floyd. Right now, we're going to have Rabbi Nick.
Hey, I want to talk about sin. The word in Hebrew for sin is hate, and it sounds a lot like hate. The word hate means missing the mark. When we say sin or hate, we were aiming for the target, but we missed the mark. In fact, our arrow went nowhere near it. In a traditional Jewish recitation of sins, we always use the plural. We say, we sit before you, dear God. But our hand, our own fist, hits our own chest. I want to say that the only way to change a situation correctly is to diagnose the problem. And in that spirit, we confess loud and clear that we're dealing with the sin of racism and its offspring. Racism is a sin against God. For the sin we have committed against you for hating without cause. For the sin we have committed against you by our arrogance. For the sin we have committed against you through our disrespect and indifference to our black brothers and our sisters. O source of mercy, give us the grace to show forbearance and not give up. May we find the strength to meet adversity with courage and unshaken will. May we have the strength to step up, be accountable for our sins, along with love to do the work. We can do better. We must do better. With God's help, let's aim clear, let's reach and sustain the target. Amen.
Okay, we have a couple of speakers that's been waiting for some hours. So what we're going to do is allow them to speak short sermons I know I'm from the Kojic church, so you know what that means. But short. All right, Jamila, Lori, Jay, and then we're going to with Tacoma.
I want to say this is an amazing outpouring of people coming and standing in solidarity. I've heard a lot about education. I've heard a lot about the necessity of vote. The one thing I want to stress is that we must remember that this country was built upon legislation. The United States Constitution says that we were free-fifths of the human being. We found our way here based on legislation, from Jim Crow laws to some of the laws that we see in effect today. So while I encourage you all to go out and vote, we're going to talk about elected officials and say a few things. Number one, those of you who are continuing to receive funding from police unions, I ask you to return that money. I also suggest that we all become a part of the civic engagement process. In order to do that, we have to have bills passed like ACA 6 that will restore the rights of formerly incarcerated individuals to be able to participate in the civic engagement process. We must support legislation like ACA 5 that will repeal Proposition 209. We must begin to remove language from California state constitution and any other state that has language such as indentured servitude or involuntary servitude. Okay? And last but not least, a lot of times we say, fire the district attorney, fire those officers. Why is this happening? Because of the police officers' bill of rights. They have an added protection that we as everyday citizens are not afforded. So it's important that you educate yourself and break down you.
First up, Sacramento. You heard my kids to speak. My name is Roy Kaufman. I work for Dr. Shirley Weber for 392. We need 392 in this entire nation. We need to let them know black folks was here before anybody else. And we need to know our freedom is here. I'll make it real quick. First black man died, Christmas addict. If you look at the history book, he died for this country, and we need to live in this country. If we get 392 passed, then we go to ACA 5 so we can live. We taught to live, now we need to life. And everybody out here understand one thing. It's easy to talk about it, but if you don't go down right building across the street and deal with what happens there, Ms. Weber and the rest of us now, we're not going to win. We need you to help us pass these bills. Lastly, whatever. Why not we change the Constitution of the United States? Why don't we say for 350 you can pay home? Why don't we say Black Lives Matter now and forever? Why don't we say this is America? Right out here, right up here. Thank you all. Let's make it happen. How's everybody doing? I want you all to look around you. I want you to take the time to look around you. Because you guys are the power. You just defied authority. You defied police. You defied the National Guard. Right. And you won. Right. You are the most powerful entity in this country because you are the people. And you should never forget that. Before I leave, I'm going to give you just a little bit of history. When Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson became your president. And he did 4 things that have you here right now. Number 1, he removed Union troops from the South, which protected people who were formerly slaves that were at that point free. Number 2, he made Confederate officers judges. And he made Confederate soldiers police. And then he allowed black codes to exist. And they were laws that governed black people. Those laws those judges, those officers, they exist right now, today. And that's why you are the beginning of the difference that's going to happen in this country. You have just changed the world and you don't even know it. You are the most powerful entity alive right now. But the fight ain't over, you guys. This is just the beginning. There's a system that you have to dismantle. And when when all the lights go out, all the fanfare is gone, that's where all the work is. And that's what we need, your young energy. You are the new leader. It is our job to confer with you as leadership. It is your job, young people. You are now in leadership. You will change the world. Thank you.
And I'm going to have a couple of things to announce where you can get more information about this movement and the website information. You want to go ahead and get it?
The website information, the organization that me and Dion is working with. Okay, it's called climeorganization.org. This is the organization that's going to be, one of the organizations that's going to be leading the cause. Going city to city, having these city hall round table meetings to discuss how we're going to be able to, how we're going to be able to implement police reform and other things. So if you want to donate, if you want to join, you want more information, go to CLIMB organization.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much, as well as continue to support the NAACP. You guys have made us proud today. You're changing the world. Actually, you started on the day that he took his last breath, and before then was Devante Clark. So continue to support Sacramento NAACP at SAC, NAACP. We do this as volunteer. No one gets paid at the NAACP. So your continued support is wonderful. So as Pastor Porter comes, the balloon people, I want you to be ready because we have 1,500 black balloons for all the black lives that add blood under law enforcement. Let's give it up for Pastor Porter.
All right. My name is Floyd Porter, and I'm the proud pastor of the Genesis Church, South Sacramento. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I just came back from there, from the George Floyd Memorial, helping Reverend Al Sharpton, the National Action Network. We lead the Sacramento chapter of that. We thank Betty for this opportunity. We will thank Black Lives Matter for this opportunity. You're doing a great job. Come on, let's give it up for Black Lives Matter. We are at a turning point in our nation with a generation of people who are ready to stand together. We're marching together. Now we're going to pray together. And I hope in November we vote together to eradicate the virus of racism in our government, business, policing, policies, education, yes, even our faith. We all have a role to play. And today my challenge is for you to do your part. You're doing it right now in protests. You're doing it right now in marching. But we got to keep on doing it. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, keep on doing it. Everybody got to do your part. And for everyone that's been asking how can he be involved, jump in. Do your part. Don't be silent. Don't wait for permission to speak up. We all have a place and a purpose. And if we all play our part, I believe we will start seeing progress. If we all play our part, one day we'll be able to say to everything racist in our country, to get your knee off our neck and let us breathe. Let us pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, you brought us
thus far all this way. You've seen our actions, and you've heard our cry for fairness and justice. Lord, we are asking for healing in our land. We need healing from COVID-19 and all manner of illness and disease that's impacting us. Lord, we ask that you would heal us from the sin of racism and the virus of white supremacy. We call it out right now. We confess our wrong. We ask for forgiveness as we seek justice. Lord, protect our children. Protect Black lives. Because it's our house that's on fire. Lord, we're asking that you bless us because our people who are suffering disproportionately economically, socially, academically, and in our health, Lord, heal our land. We've come today praying for the families of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Devante Clark, along with the countless numbers of those names who are unknown but have lost loved ones by racist violence and police brutality. Lord, comfort them in their grief. And Lord, we don't want to go back to normal. Normal wasn't working. Normal wasn't good. Normal was racist behavior. Normal was police killing our boys and girls. So Lord, instead, let us be better. Help us to be better neighbors, better people, better cities, and a better nation. Change us so that we may love our neighbors and be our brothers and sisters' keeper. We pray for justice and for the healing of our nation. And we pray for all these things in Jesus' name. I pray. Let the church say amen. One, two, three.
Try and get you up where I can give you an idea of the size of this crowd.
I was like,
people are leaving, but I'm still going to be able to get you an idea of how massive that crowd is. That's got to be at least 4,000 people jammed into that park. The march itself stretched all the way from the Golden One Center down 7th Street, over to N Street, back up 9th Street to this park, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. It's got to be one of the largest marches in the city's history. As you heard earlier, the mayors say they're ending the curfew today. They've had a curfew on at 8 p.m. for several days, and it's over now. The National Guard is still here, at least they were this morning, but not in any great number in the downtown area. The only place I saw them gathered was at the Capitol. So the question is, how much longer will the National Guard be here? Now we've got an impromptu march forming up back down 9th Street toward the Capitol.
No peace! 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 No peace!
So it was just last weekend that they had these marches that turned into nights of looting and violence, Saturday and Sunday, as well as the shutdown of the Interstate 5 freeway, both on Saturday and on Sunday, from angry crowds. There's nothing like that here today. So far, it's been very peaceful, very calm.
Yeah, it does start, and that's exactly what happened. It started there, and then within half an hour.
George Floyd! George Floyd! George Floyd! George Floyd!
This was the scene Sunday night at 10th and L Streets, a very violent confrontation between Sacramento City police officers and the protesters who had gathered outside the Capitol. This is where officers fired numerous rounds of tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. And as you can see, today, instead of anything like that, there is one police officer with no helmet, no mask, directing people the safest way to get across the street. There's two officers over here now. Nothing like what happened last week. Same story at the state capitol. Typically, when you have this many people protesting outside the Capitol, the CHP would have this lawn ringed with officers. Instead, let me get up there so you can see this. Instead, I'm good. Thank you very much. There are officers, only a handful visible. I'm certain there are tons inside, but there's just one standing there in the shade of the tree, not wearing a helmet, not wearing a mask. They obviously don't expect any problems, anything like what they've had here in the past week. It's like these marchers are just retracing their steps the way we came in this morning from the Golden One Center, which is completely open. No more National Guard posted outside it. No more limited access to the plaza. That was all open today. It's like everybody in downtown is handing out free water. It's the only person in front of the West Steps right now. The traditional spot for protesting. You can see the CHP bicycle team is keeping watch from up on the sidewalk, but there's virtually no officers out on the grounds. They clearly are not concerned about this group at all. The Nazi Lives Don't Matter t-shirt, that's a new one. Okay, we're coming up on N Street, and it looks like they've gathered in a circle in the intersection here. Yeah, we're at 10th and N. Street has been shut down all day. There's a small contingent of National Guard over here in front of some of the state buildings across the street from the Capitol. See, there's 3 of them here. One of the marchers are just shaking hands with them. Here at the Legislative Office Building at 1020 N Street. But it's, well, now the CHP apparently is taking no chances. They're marching over to the Capitol grounds, and they do have the riot gear on. One of the concerns they have when the marchers move this direction down 10th Street is they tend to keep their vehicles in a garage down here, and they tend to mass themselves in a garage over here. I know the other day they were concerned that the protesters were getting close to it, and then they veered off. So this is just a group waiting, listening to the drums. A lot of people are walking out to go home, it looks like. And I'm guessing that the CHP officers were simply called in because there are so many people marching this way. Dancing and drumming in the intersection. See if we can get back over to the Capitol side of this and see if the CHP is making any kind of change in their MO from this morning. I think those officers just went into the building, and they weren't bothered or harassed at all by the crowd as they walked by, which has been the case in the past. They've been verbal targets, and they've actually been physical targets as well, because during some of the demonstrations they've had bottles thrown at them. Of course, Sacramento police had rocks and bricks thrown at them in South Sacramento a week ago Friday night when these protests began in Sacramento. I'm going to go over to the east side of the Capitol, see if there's a gathering over there, because that's the only spot on the perimeter of the Capitol that isn't sealed off by one of these fences. There's a smaller fence they just installed last week to protect the eastern entrance of the Capitol. It makes it easier for the CHP to keep a perimeter. Before, they were just standing shoulder to shoulder. I think a lot of these people are just going home. National Guard isn't even in front of the buildings anymore. They've gone on the inside. And earlier today, there were 3 armored Humvees in front of the Capitol on the west side. Those appear to be gone. There's no Guard troops at City Hall this morning. There were none at the Golden One Center. There were none at the courthouse or District Attorney Emery Schubert's office, as there have been in the past. CHP is just hanging out in the shade up against the fence line by the building itself. They had 5 horse-mounted officers out here earlier today when the crowd went by around 10:20, but I don't see any evidence of them yet, so they may be gone. Of course, the CHP is watching from above. They've always got their helicopter over these crowds so they can keep track of where it's going. This looks to me like people are heading home or heading downtown to get a coffee or something, because I see no indication of anyone congregating at the East Steps yet. Let's see, just to be sure. And this is exactly what the organizers of this protest had asked for. They asked everybody to not take any kind of violent or damaging action against any property, keep everything peaceful. It's called a peaceful protest, and it was. Yeah, nobody here. Let's see if they've even got officers posted up there. I have no doubt there are hundreds of CHP officers inside that building, ready if they're needed. They spent more than $1 million in April and May just on overtime and food for the officers dealing with the stay-at-home protests, the protests against the governor's stay-at-home order. Now, there's just a couple officers up there, and it looks all quiet. So, it's like the crowd is heeding the directions of the organizers. I'll head back to 10th and N. And we'll see if this march goes back to the Golden One Center. CHP here, standing in the shade, are there just to be sure nobody gets down into the garage under the building. Nobody's paying any attention to them. They're walking out to their cars. There's many people down here, I understand. Parking was an absolute nightmare. And they're in no rush because they don't have to worry about a curfew, of course, because the mayor has canceled the curfew. Your call, should I question mark? Sorry, communicating with an editor there. So all these folks are heading on home. Bicycle officers are up there in the shade. Protesters had a perfect day for this. It didn't get too hot before this thing ended. I think I'll hang with these folks just to see where they end up. Sometimes these things spontaneously turn into new marches. And that could very well be what's happening here as the crowd takes over N Street at 12, heading east. Now it looks like they are heading to the east steps. So let's go see if they gather over there. Well, let's just see if they stop here, and if they move on, I will sign off. But let's just take a look first to see. I think much of the crowd is heading home or heading back to the Golden One Center. There are some starting to gather here at the east steps. We've seen this repeatedly all week because this gives the protesters the best access to the Capitol grounds, because the east side of the Capitol remains open, unlike the other sides that have all been walled off.
No peace! No peace! Police! No peace! Police! No peace! Police! No peace! Police! No peace! Police!
Yeah, it looks like they've decided they're going to do some more protesting here on the east side. Mostly they're going to stand in the shade and chant. There's no response from the CHP. There's only a couple guys up on the steps. Typically there'd be a lot of people out there, but they seem convinced that nothing is going to happen other than another peaceful demonstration. So that being the case, this is Sam Stanton of the Sacramento Bee, and I think we will sign off for now. If something else begins to percolate downtown, we will let you know, and we'll come back online as soon as possible. So thank you very much, folks. We'll talk to you later.